We're going to start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, roll call
Gary Jansen,
here.
Paul Springer, Steve Conway,
Here.
Ryan Shelton.
Here.
Frank Schellenbarger, Phillips.
Here.
Dalton Wilson.
Here. Thank you. Assuming everybody's had a chance to review the agenda for tonight's meeting, are there any questions, comments, additions? If not, I make a motion we approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Same, if you've had a chance to look at the draft minutes of our meeting from July, are there any questions, comments, additions? If not, I'll make a motion we approve the minutes as presented.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Good to go. Any communications, Ryan? Okay, first item is public hearing, review of SP 2023-02, application of the City of Valley Center pursuant to City Code 1712, who is petitioning to build a 44,800 square foot aquatic and rec center on property currently addressed as 9014 North Meridian in Valley Center. You got it.
All right, good evening, everyone. It's very exciting to present this site plan application tonight. As we have been working on, the city's been working on this project for a good number of months. Again, this property is north of the middle school, in between the middle school and the high school, and this is for the new aquatic and recreation center. Part of this project, so this building will be owned by the City of Valley Center and then operated by the city's Recreation Commission. Again, in the staff report, you do have some renderings of this building, as well as the site plans themselves that have been reviewed and approved by the city staff review team. Since this is a city application, myself and City Administrator Clark are representing the city. We also have representatives from SEH, which were the part of the engineering team that put together the site plans, the renderings done by Schaefer, the Schaefer architectural firm. Just to go over this building, it will face Meridian. There will be a new entryway off of Meridian there on the east side of the street where you see the cursor that'll lead into the parking area and a roundabout. There will also be a connection to the existing middle school parking lot to the south. So this will, and it does provide for the safe movement of traffic with sidewalks clearly marked. There are adequately proposed ADA parking stalls. I will note that this project is interesting in the fact that there will also be a few stalls designated for EV, electric vehicle charging stations as well. So that will be the first, a first for Valley Center to have some EV parking stalls. That will be installed on the south side, on the southern part of the parking lot, east of the ADA stalls. But again, this building does include an indoor pool, gymnasium, workout and running track, as well as office space for the Rec Commission. And then as noted, there are opportunities as this facility grows and as the community continues to grow, room for future expansion on three sides of the building as well. And so we're planning for now, but also looking at potential future expansions also. As with all applications, there was a public notice put in the Ark Valley News, as well as notices sent to the surrounding property owners. And as of today, have not received any questions or concerns or anyone opposed to this site plan application. Again, the city staff review team has reviewed the full set of site plans. They do conform to our existing codes. And city staff, at this time, we do recommend approval of this site plan application. Myself, City Administrator Clark, are more than happy to answer any questions, as well as the representatives from SEH. With that, I would recommend opening the public hearing.
Thank you, Ryan. At this time, we'll go ahead and open the public hearing at 7:04. And I'm going to see if there's any questions or comments from the board. I do have one question or two questions, maybe. Actually, it's probably three. Does that main entrance line up with Southwind?
It does, yes.
Okay, and that's good. That makes sense. I noticed in here it said that there's no signage.
That is correct. At this time, so at this time, as part of this site plan, as a part of this construction project, there is no signage, standalone signage proposed at this time. If there is future signage, that will go through the standards sign review by members of my staff to make sure that it conforms with existing building codes. In some cases with larger monument signs, we do require some inspections by our building inspector, Mr. Andrews, with anchor to make sure there's proper anchoring, electrical work if necessary. So at this phase, there is no proposed exterior signage, standalone signage. There may be some on the building, but again, that'd be part of the building.
I was just mostly curious. It's not like people won't know what it is. I would have expected to see something on the site plan, and I would have thought somebody would have wanted to sign out by Meridian, but whatever. I'm just curious.
Good evening, board members. And so, like all of our city projects, this has a really tight budget for what we're actually building. I know, 21 million seems like a lot of money, but when you're doing a 44,000 square foot facility and doing an indoor aquatic center, along with a gymnasium, a fitness area, we do not have the funds right now for any exterior signage as far as a monument sign and those things. And so, that's something that, throughout the fundraising process and those things, as well as the building process itself or project itself, if we do have some funds left over and contingencies and those things, then we can always add that in, but not something we thought was really necessary at the time of the construction of this incredible facility.
That's fine. I just
Pinching every
curious.
penny.
No, I get it, and that makes sense. And it's not like people aren't going to know what it is.
Yep.
So it's
Yeah,
fine.
it's going to be a small building.
So I have one last question, and please don't think I'm picking on anybody, but isn't this under construction already?
No.
And construction hasn't started. I mean, I saw the McCown Gordon fencing and everything.
No, just the fencing has gone up, and then in preparation for the groundbreaking on the 30th. Of course, as you well know, we can't just jump on a bare site with trees and everything and do a groundbreaking ceremony. So there's a lot of logistics that go into preparing an area for the groundbreaking and making sure that it's safe for the public to come out for that ceremony. So that's more just for the ceremony coming up on August 30th at 7 p.m.
Gotcha. I actually hadn't been that way yet. See, I mean, I live close enough. I could see the fencing, but hadn't seen what was happening. I was mostly curious about our timing of this, and I don't expect we to have any issues related to how soon they were going to start construction.
Nope, just some nice signage they want to get up. Actually, what happened was the timing just ended perfectly. McCown Gordon, they wrapped up another job, and so their job trailer was available just to drop off here versus going back down to Wichita and then having to pull it back up. And so they said, hey, can we put the job trailer there and start setting up some fence? And we said, absolutely. The city owns the property, so sounds good.
I assume and I lied to you. I do have one more question. Thank you for that. I assume the detention pond will provide enough on-site detention so that post-development runoff doesn't exceed current, right?
I'll defer to Jake Vasha.
I just mostly wanted you to have to answer a question.
Yeah, so the detention pond will take, a slice of the property that runs towards the detention pond. It's actually a retention pond. We thought that would look a little nicer, create a little bit more dirt for the site that we're bringing up. I believe the building's going up a good 3-4 feet in the air from where it is now, as far as grades go. And then there's also a portion that will run off to the east as well and go to another basin, which we'll show in a later presentation for the summer walk projects.
Thank you. And obviously, I didn't mean to doubt what you looked at for drainage. As you know, we've got some real challenges
Oh, yeah.
in different areas. So retention, meaning that's going to have water in it.
Yep.
All the time. Well, that'd be nice.
And there's a proposed fountain in that retention basin as well.
Well, it'll be cool. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Okay, sorry, that was all I had. Anybody else got anything here?
I have a question. So the EV parking, do you know any details around that? What kind of chargers are going to be there?
I'll defer to the city administrator for that question.
Yes, and so currently, so what we're doing is running 2 conduits out and then having a spot for 4 actual parking stalls that meet the requirements, of course, for EV charging stations. We're really looking at really that base phase, phase 1 versus phase 2 chargers. So the quick charge, they're just potentially going to be outside the budget unless a company wants to potentially donate those. You're talking about $100,000 unit. Versus about a $6,000 unit. And so, trying to weigh those pros and cons, but probably initially, will be just those phase 1 chargers that will take a little bit longer than that 18 minute. Please don't shake your head. We can't afford that much. And so we're really trying to squeeze, like I said, every penny. And now in the future, can we add to those and put a different chart? Absolutely. But I think to get started, we're looking at just doing the phase 1 for now, unfortunately. But
Do you know what kind of connectors, like North American Charging Standard?
Yep, they'll be universal. And so ChargePoint is the charger that we're looking at right now that have multiple different adapters, even for your Teslas and ID4s and Volkswagen and all the fun ones that are coming out now.
Thank you.
Yep. Too bad the Volkswagen bus isn't out yet. Sorry.
Yeah, thank you.
But yeah, so that is something we're trying to receive, trying to figure out a way for the rec center to try to generate money. And so that might be an opportunity as well. So there might be small fees associated with them. I know sometimes that there are free charging stations in some areas, but this one, we're trying to weigh the pros and cons of charging at this time.
Thank you, Brent. Is there anybody from the public who'd like to speak on this item? Assuming not, 7-Eleven will close the public hearing. Anybody else have any further comments or questions? Well, this is really cool. I applaud you for making this happen. I've been in Valley Center since 2006. I wish my kids were a little younger, would probably get a little more use out of it, but I think this is a great asset to our community. So it's good to see it moving forward. Looks like a great design and really good use of the facility. So this is going to be really cool. Okay. If nobody's got anything else, based on city staff recommendations, public comments, and discussion by the Planning and Zoning Board, I make a motion to approve SP 2023-02.
Second.
The motion is second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Good deal. Thank you, Brent and Ryan.
Thank you. And then just to answer your question, Gary, on construction projects, just so the board is aware, we do allow for some site work to take place before we will formally issue a building permit. So that's fine. So again, just groundwork, site prep work is fine.
No, I wasn't trying to catch you.
No,
Just
that's,
so you know, and I wouldn't
that's
expect
fine.
we would have any issues. I just was hoping we didn't have anything that we didn't like.
Just so the public and everyone's made aware, yes, we are doing everything by the book on this project.
And I get it, and I realize timings. Yeah, you're good. Okay, next item is review of RZ 2023-04 application of Jason. I heard you saying your last name walking in, and I already forgot what you said. Help me out.
Febris.
Febris, because you said you didn't want it to be like Febreze, right? Febris. Pursuant to City Code 1711, who is petitioning for a rezoning of land that is currently zoned C2, which is the city's designation for a general business district, to R1B, which is the city's designation for a single-family residential district. The property is currently addressed as 116 South Ash in Valley Center. Ryan, please.
All right, good evening again. This application, again, is to change this property from C2, which is our general business district, to R1B. I would note that the applicant is with us this evening, Mr. Febris. This has been a fun meeting. So we had the aquatic and rec center, and now we have a local celebrity. If you don't know, Jason is a regionally and nationally known chef. He's been on Food Network competitions. And so we've got a celebrity in the audience, and we are grateful, very grateful to have his business in town. He owns the property, as you see on the site plan, the property to the east. This is now his headquarters for his business, as well as a couple of other businesses. So is rejuvenating a local, close to downtown building. And then he purchased this property to the west of that building for the purposes of building a small single family home. I would note that in the application this evening, or I'm sorry, in the staff report this evening, that his request letter is included stating why he's requesting the option to rezone this from commercial to residential to allow for a home to be built here for a family member. But again, this does meet our various requirements for the rezoning. It does have access to public water, sanitary sewer. It is on a publicly dedicated street as well as an alleyway to the north. This, again, city staff does recommend approval of this rezoning. For the newer members of our board, how our rezoning works is it first goes before the Planning and Zoning Board. And if you as the board do recommend and vote to approve this rezoning, it then goes to city council with a rezoning ordinance, a standard 2 readings of the rezoning ordinance. And so this is reviewed by you as the Planning and Zoning Board and then by city council. Once city council, if they decide to vote to approve it, once the ordinance has its second reading, then this parcel will officially be changed from C2 to R1B. And the applicant can then move forward with the standard building permit process for a single family home. Again, the applicant is in the audience, and I know would be more than happy to answer any questions that the board may have. And again, the public notice was put in the newspaper as well as sent out to the surrounding property owners. Did receive 3 calls on this, just more of an inquiry of, hey, why did I receive this letter in the mail? No one was opposed to the rezoning, and city staff, again, does recommend approval of this and opening the public hearing this evening.
Thank you. It's 7:16, so go ahead and open the public hearing. So I noticed and I have no issue with this. I think it's great. And I appreciate you being here, and I appreciate the introduction. You're even more famous than our city administrator, man. And there's very few people that come in here that are. I noticed that everything surrounding this whole area is Central Business District, right?
So the property to the north is Central Business District, and then to the southeast and west is General Business
Oh,
District.
that's right. Yeah.
So again, there's just a slight difference in what can take place in a C1 and C2. I would note that there are single-family homes to the south, and the grain elevator is to the east of this property. I don't know why this property and the properties to the south along Ash, I don't know why they have a commercial zoning. They're all single-family homes, so I'm not sure when that happened in the city's zoning regulation history. I know it has been, all of these lots on that east side of Ash have been zoned commercial since I've been with the city. Again, I don't know when that took place. I can tell you that in researching this, there was a single-family home on this property, but that's been demolished for, I think, 25, even 30 years. It's been a long time a vacant lot. This would, of course, energize the surrounding neighborhood in the fact of making an investment in this property will definitely raise the value of the surrounding neighborhood. And of course, when the building permit does come in, we'll make sure that it conforms to our existing building codes in terms of new construction.
Gotcha. So just out of curiosity, would he have been able to, I mean, he could build a single family dwelling on this current zoning or not?
No. So C2 does not allow for residential.
But the other with the general,
So so for residential right now in C1, you can have residential, but in C2 you can't. And again, the lots to the south, there are single family homes on them. But again, I don't know when those were changed, when that
that was the only
rezoning
reason
took
why I
place
was
to make
asked. So
them
you're saying
commercial.
that wasn't supposed, even if that happened when it did, it can't happen now.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Gotcha.
And that's the same. And we've actually had, I'm trying to remember if it was, I think it was 2017, over closer to Lions Park, there are also some lots that are zoned commercial C2 that have single family homes on them. And we actually went through the same process because unfortunately, let's say there was a catastrophe, a tornado, flood, fire, and those property owners wanted to rebuild their homes, they would not be able to do that until the property would be rezoned to residential. And so that's kind of the same situation we're dealing with here, where someone wants to invest in this lot, but in order to do so, we do need to go through the rezoning process because under current zoning code for C2, you are not allowed to have a residential building.
Thank you for explaining that. I got it now.
Yep, you're welcome.
Any comments, questions from the board? Anybody from,
I have a question.
go ahead.
So it didn't appear to me that this is not going to affect like the Fall Festival or farmers markets or anything, that all happens to the north of this.
So yeah, so what you see here on the map, those vacant lots to the north is where the farmers market takes place. Those are also utilized for Fall Festival. Again, there is, and there are some streets that are closed off, and I know this has been used. The former owner did use it for some additional parking as well. But again, the Chamber of Commerce and Main Street Valley Center, this particular lot is is definitely accessory to those operations. Yeah.
Sorry. No, yeah, this lot is used for Fall Fest. It's and so there's typically rides on this lot as well as the lots to the north. So I did want to clarify that as a board member now of the chamber. So yeah, no, this area is used for rides as well as the parking lot that the gentleman does own now. And then I recall, I think it might have been last year, the year before, the actual slides, the big slides were set up in the alleyway and then came down and actually ended right on the south side of the alleyway, right north of that 20 there for the indicator. So yeah, no, this actually is used or was granted use by Mr. Howard Botts for Fall Fest, for many, many years. So sorry, Ryan, just want to make sure.
No, that's okay. I was
It
not
is.
aware of that. I knew the other lots were right.
Absolutely. Yep. Usually the Tilt-A-Whirl or whatever, the Scrambler, and some of those are over there.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Do want to clarify.
Anybody from the public who'd like to speak on this item? The applicant, if you have anything you'd like to say now, you don't have to. But now's the opportunity. If you would come to the podium and give us your name and address, that'd be great.
I'm Jason Febres. Nice to meet you all. So the Fall Festival is actually coming up, and that's the first thing that I already got an email. Hey, can we use your parking lot? And if we need anything. So moving forward, we actually found a solution for us, especially. They do use my parking lot on the building, which it will be the number 140. And we technically can use from the number 20, probably under the 57 this way on the alley to park our vans that weekend. So from here on, we'll probably continue to help out with the fair so they can have that space. I understand that you guys have been doing that for multiple years, so I don't want to come in here and storm and say, you can't use this, you can't use this. It's not the idea here by no means. And then also in the big lot next to it, one thing that I told my mom that I proposed, I bought it for her because she sent me here with all her savings, and here I am with thank God, a very successful business and a house, and she's renting. I just cannot live with that in my heart that she's renting and I have this life now. So that's where this property came into place, and I do feel like God sent it through the bots. I'm a believer, and I do feel like things happen for a reason. Now, one thing that I did in order to perhaps help a little bit, not that it's needed, but we're gonna try to figure that out. I talked to Bill Andrews, and the area that she needs, or she wants to build a tiny home, which actually is within the certain amount of square feet that she's allowed to use with all the regulations. She's way under that. So I said, Mom, hey, do you mind if I, on the right side, closer to my building, if I can invest in some, maybe some stone or some concrete. So if anybody needs parking, if I need to put a trash can for the business, if we can use it for multiple purposes, most likely that space there, because it's so big, we can probably play a little bit of a multi-purpose area. And we might just put a fence on her house and keep a little bit of that open. So, moving forward, if there's that slide and they request to use it, that option will be probably available. She's going to be, I feel, more on the ash, on the number 45, if that makes sense. That's going to be the entrance. And her house, when I ran the numbers by Bill, it was just so small compared to the whole area. So I feel like we can still, hopefully provide space for multiple purposes if anybody needs, especially the Fall Festival. That's the one thing that they basically told me we need to use a parking lot. They just told me we have to. They asked me, but I'm like, go ahead, man. I know this has been going on for years, so we don't want to change things too much. But yeah, this is a a big blessing to be on the building on the right side. We're excited to get involved with the community and do some taco bars for the city and for the fair or for whatever they need them. And we're excited to be part of the community. I feel like this is the place that we need to be. I'm from Wichita, but if I could move to the house, I would move. But I bought a house about 2 years ago, and that's going to be paid in about 20 years. So no plans there yet, but excited to be here. I know a lot of people from Valley, a lot of my friends, and actually people that helped me open the building live in Valley currently. The people that helped me paint the building, and so in a nutshell, we're very excited. So thank you guys. Do you have any questions for me?
I know.
Okay.
Thank you and welcome. We're glad to have you.
It's super cool, man. I'm already loving it. It's extremely. That's one thing that I said since the beginning. I posted all my social media. It has an extremely welcoming community. I'm like pretty shocked, and I say that from heart. No, we didn't put it out there to be showy. It's just the support and the access to resources has been out of the common, I would say. So thank you for that.
Thank you. Anybody else from the public like to speak on this item? If not, at 7:25, we'll close the public hearing. Any more questions from anybody here? Anything else to add, Ryan?
No, just to reiterate what the applicant said, again, with parking, that is something that we would definitely look at and consider. Parking could be used on a residential lot. That's okay. That would still conform with the nature of an R1B zoning for parking on that eastern side of the lot. I think we can make that work.
I was kind of curious about that, so that's good to know.
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
Well, if there's nothing else, based on city staff recommendations, public comments, and discussion by the Planning and Zoning Board, I make a motion to approve RZ 2023-04.
Second.
A motion second by several people. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Good deal. Thank you and good luck. All right, Ryan, any old unfinished business?
No.
We do have several new business items.
We have, yes, a couple of items to go over this evening. Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
Can I ask you something, Freddie?
Sure.
If possible, sorry. About the parking lot, I brought that up just to help. It's not something that we're planning on doing.
You might walk over here to the microphone just so.
Sorry to interrupt.
No, you're fine. You're good. You're
The
good.
parking lot on the side is it's nothing that we're planning on doing, but it's something that if needed, we want to help, just to make that clear. It's nothing that we're actually, it doesn't have to happen. If it's not okay to do it, we won't. She would just fence it all the way. But if it's available, perhaps putting that concrete there and keeping it open, whether it's for us to park extra car or if the city needs it for that slide, we're willing to help. Just put it out there, okay?
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, we can definitely talk about that.
Okay, Ryan.
All right. First item is, it says establishment of a Stormwater Citizens Advisory Committee. The city's Public Works Department has an annual stormwater management plan, and they work on various goals throughout the year and update the plan on a yearly basis. One of the goals this year for the city is to establish an advisory committee, and city staff discussed this and felt that much as this board also functions as the Board of Zoning Appeals, that this board could also function as the Stormwater Citizens Advisory Committee. The requirements, and again, this is something that does not take up a lot of time. The basic requirements are that the board or the committee meet twice a year. What we would propose is just to add that on to at the end of this meeting, open that meeting up, have our Public Works Director, Rodney Eggleston, attend that meeting. And really the purpose of this is to review the stormwater management plan and to make recommendations of it. I am planning on emailing out the plan to each of the board members tomorrow. But what this looks like is if this board is willing to take on that role, is to submit to City Council the formal creation of the Stormwater Citizens Advisory Committee that would be not staffed, but held by the same members as the Planning and Zoning Board. So I'm more than happy to answer any questions on the Public Works Department's behest. But again, this would again, just twice a year, we would have our regularly scheduled meeting, end that meeting, and then reconvene as this committee. It would be an open meeting and then have various presentations related to the stormwater management plan of the city. Any questions? Again, this is very minimal, but we felt that since this board already meets on a regular basis, you're comprised of the citizenry of the community, that it makes sense that the Planning and Zoning Board could also fulfill this committee for the community.
What is it that is driving this? I mean, the requirement for this committee?
So again, this is just one of the goals of the overall plan of the city. This plan is reviewed by KDHE, and I'm not sure who else reviews it. Brent, do you know who else? I'm trying to remember. I know it's at least KDHE that reviews this plan on a regular basis. It is part of our MS4 permit as well.
And that makes sense.
So again, this is an advisory committee, but again, it is a goal that we are working on to expand our level of review as a community.
I think it's good. Sorry, go ahead.
And assist with our overall scoring. So it adds another a point or two, if we do have an advisory committee. I believe when the stormwater management plan and the entire document was created, it was always intended to have an advisory board oversee that plan. And so just kind of getting to a point of we're ready to go on adoption and finding a board that best fits under, rather than creating another board. No offense, and then another set of committee and members, and
Right.
I know that we have just a ton of volunteers pounding down the doors to serve on all of our committees. But so really, and it's perfect. It falls underneath of your purview when it comes to really the intent of the direction of the sport.
Got it. Assume the pay is the same as.
Yes. Again, Gary, my undying gratitude.
Just wanted to ask. Anybody here have an issue with this? I think it makes sense.
And we don't need a motion or anything, but again, wanted to, of course, before we submit the board for approval by City Council, discuss this with you and answer any questions you may have. So I do know that.
So were you really even looking for our opinion on whether we wanted to do this or not?
No, I definitely want your input. Yes,
Oh,
I want
God.
your input and your blessing as a board before we take this to City Council.
Gotcha.
Brian,
So-
can we negotiate a raise of Brent's undying gratitude as well? Is that possible?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Well,
But again,
I think it makes sense.
and on behalf of the Public Works Department and all of city staff, I know I say this a lot, but thank you for your time and your service to the community. I greatly appreciate having an active board such as yourselves and the questions and the engagement that we have. Thank you so much. But what'll happen is at the next City Council meeting, the first one in September, I will present the Planning and Zoning Board to officially serve as the Stormwater Citizens Advisory Committee. And then I know that Public Works Director Eggleston would like to have 2 meetings yet this year, so I think that's going to be fine. They might need to be back to back, but moving forward in 2024 and beyond, we can space those out, and I can coordinate that with Rodney for those immediate. Again, it's at least twice a year.
Sounds good. Thank you.
And just so you know, yes, you do have. You are the second level. I mean, you are in some instances the only board that hears items that of the utmost importance for the direction of the community is this board. I mean, it really is. I mean, besides the City Council, this board in some cases does have more authority when hearing the Board of Appeals and those things than the City Council. And so, yeah, I do not take that lightly and do appreciate all your time and dedication to serving the community. So thank you.
Thank you. What's next, Ryan?
All right. Again, thank you. The second item, I'm going to turn it over to Jake Vasha with SEH This is going to be a plating discussion. So the property between the middle school and the high school will be platted. Right now, the preliminary plat is scheduled to be on this board's agenda at their September board meeting. But prior to that formal submission, SEH and the applicant did want to come before this board and just show you a rendering of what they're looking to do with this property and answer any initial questions that you may have in preparation for the September board meeting. So with that being said, I will turn it over to Mr. Basha.
Good evening. I'm Jake Basho, SEH. So just wanted to have the discussion before we bring this to you guys in a month. Since we weren't quite ready, but we were close enough to show you quite a bit of what's going on and have a pretty good idea on pretty good handle on the design and everything. As Ryan mentioned, there's the aquatic center right there. That's the city's property in orange, south of Northwind Drive. So as far as zoning, the different areas we have are C2 for the city's property. And then north of that C2 along Meridian is another stretch of C2 for commercial use. And it'll have a road behind it for access. So access to that C2 will come from Abilene Avenue, not from Meridian directly. So we'll have controlled access along Meridian there. Behind that C2, the red zoning area is R2, which will be single family rentals from what I understand that the developer is planning to do. And then as you move to the east, the yellow zoned area is also R2 duplex areas. So that's kind of the different zones. I believe there's 77 single family rental R2 areas or lots and 124 duplex lots to the east of that. So we've been working on this one for quite some time, more than a typical development just due to the site itself and the difficulty to have a design that actually works financially. So the site is extremely flat, as you can tell when you drive out there. So that makes it very difficult to convey and detain stormwater. So trying to get stormwater from anywhere on that site to push any direction whatsoever has been a challenge. And so our solution that we came up with, one way to convey water is using surface water. So we have these retention ponds or wet ponds that we're using to help convey water and in general, the water goes from the west side of the site to the east side of the site where Chisholm Creek is, and from the north side of the site to the south side of the site. So that's kind of the general direction of the flow of water. Also on the east side is a core levee. So we have some areas that drain through the levee. We also have been in coordination with the Corps on the drainage impacts to the levee area, including what we intend to connect into for sanitary sewer, as there's a sanitary sewer trunk that runs along the west side of that levee, kind of just outside of the toe of the levee. So we've got to connect into that sanitary trunk in a few different locations. As that sanitary pushes its way west to service all these areas, the sanitary kind of runs out of cover. So again, with our intended concept and design, by digging a bunch of retention ponds in an area, we're also generating a great deal of fill that will bring the site up. That'll help keep the homes from being flooded when we do have the larger rainfall events. It'll also bring those sites up so they can be serviced by sewer. There's a lot going on this site as far as design goes. I could probably get into a lot of different detail, but I want to stay as high level as I can at this point. Yep. So all structures will be slab on grade, no basements whatsoever. I think there's a small potential right where the sewer is, the very east lots along that back against the levee, Ryan. But other than that, there wouldn't be very much potential at all for anything other than slab on grade, which is why the single family home and the duplexes seem to work pretty well for the site. As far as access goes, I mentioned the C2 will only have access, C2 north of Northwind Drive will only have access along Abilene Avenue. So we've got Northwind Drive that will connect to the site. Abilene Avenue will connect to 93rd. And then Emporia to the east of that is another collector street that will go through the site. That will be a through and collector street. So there will be no parking on that street. Just 2 through driving lanes with a middle of the bidirectional turn lane. And it'll continue to push its way south and eventually connect into Emporia on 5th Street.
Is there, hold that thought, is there, that doesn't connect alongside the golf course right now, does it? I mean, there's no Emporia through there right now with, is there?
There's dedicated right of way.
But there's no road. So I thought maybe I was crazy. So there'd be plans at some point in time to connect that through.
And then the only other connection, as I mentioned, is Northwind on Meridian. But as you saw, the Aquatic Center will connect into the Southwind Drive as that connection. And I believe there could be another connection along Meridian in the future. So we won't control that access, maybe have one access controlled along that drive there. So that's Emporia that Brent's got up on the screen there. It won't follow that alignment exactly as you kind of get to that jog just south of the golf course, but in general, it'll kind of head in that direction. So that's the ultimate connection that will go to the site.
What did you say? Because it doesn't show up on what we got. What were the other 2 orange areas other than the rec center? Were those just reserves or?
So that area is city property. That'll be zone C2. Yep.
For future general business, commercial development, whatever it might be? What about the one along Meridian then? Further north?
North along Northwind, that'll be also C2, more general commercial.
Oh, good.
Yep, owned by the developer. So we're working with Street Commercial. I don't know if you've seen their sign out there.
I did, yeah.
But yep. So we'll be working with them about lot sizing and everything. But we do have a natural gas pipeline kind of running through that area. So that'll limit kind of some of the uses we can see through that area. And you can kind of see that diagonal line that bisects the city's property. So there's an offset there of an easement that we kind of have to stay out of that will limit kind of some things. Also showing a green dash line and a light blue dash line for pedestrian. That'll kind of be our pedestrian walkways. So along Emporia, we're expecting to have a 10-foot wide trail that pushes from south to north, and then the green pedestrian path as well. That'll kind of go all along the outside of the ponds in the interior of the development. So the ponds will be joined with a culvert so that they all will equalize and act as one large pond for detention purposes. Also, with the site being adjacent to a levee, we do have to consider the scenario where Chisholm Creek is full of water and this development can't exactly drain out. So we're considering basically a localized 100-year flood and looking at that situation. And again, making sure our homes are all above that. And as far as the design goes, I believe everything's working out quite well in that regard. So we'll be utilizing the existing culverts that cross the levee. I believe there's 4. We'll also be utilizing the Emporia Avenue corridor for storm sewer and also some off-site improvements on the golf course to continue drainage south and ultimately to the pump station, which is on 5th Street.
You know if the developer's ready to move forward? I mean, are they working on utility plans or?
So we're just getting through prelim plat at this point. Then we'll jump into utility plans.
But they do have plans, do you think, to move forward after
Yep.
the plating?
Oh, yeah.
Well, good.
Yep. So we've already applied for the water rights permits that you need to hold this much water. I believe if you have more than 15 acre feet in any pond, you have to apply for a water rights permit, which takes 12 months. So we're kind of on the clock already for that. So I believe March, April, we'll have a green light to go ahead and get started on construction, maybe before. And then also with the Corps being involved next to the levee, we've got them coordinated. We'll have that permit we need to go through. So I anticipate, if everything gets moved through prelim plat next month, we'll start on utility and grading, mass grading plans. And I'd say late spring next year, we'll probably see dirt moving throughout this whole site. It's somewhere around 350,000 yards of dirt. So.
Well, yeah. I think we had seen some preliminary layout in this area several years ago, but it wasn't this. So it's good to see something happening. Seems to be a market still for rentals and two families. So this is good. Thank you. Any
Yep.
questions?
So if I mean, that'd be 325 units roughly, correct?
You're counting the
124
duplexes as two?
duplexes, 248, 77 single-family homes, 248, 77, 325.
Yep.
You got 325 families there. None of them will be privately owned.
Not to my knowledge. Nope. They're set up to be that they could be liquidated and sold to private. These are all on different lots, but yes, my understanding is there's two different builders. One's will likely do single family rentals and the other one absolutely will do duplexes on the yellow lots.
Somewhat related question, maybe for Brent or Ryan. I'm not against rental properties necessarily, but as we have seen several developments pushing in that direction, do we have any city guidance or recommendation on a ratio of rental properties or these multifamily residences to single family residences that we generally follow, or any sort of ordinance around that?
Yes, no, excellent questions. So we do not have an official ratio, so that is not part of it. However, I can tell you, in our strategic plan, we are looking at all different types of housing, bringing that into Valley Center, ranging from single-family homes, owner-occupied, to rental, to even someday apartments, duplexes, triplexes, everything in between. From that strategic plan, it clearly stated we need housing, and then also reflected in the 2019 community survey as well. People are looking for homes. This area, as you all know, is very desirable for the school district, for the wonderful community amenities we have, namely the new aquatic and rec center that will be coming online. We've been told by McCowan Gordon, it will, I failed to mention this, but they told City Council it's going to be done by December 2024. So I know council will hold the feet to the fire on that project. But again, there are so many positive factors that are drawing people here. We have Amazon, other associated businesses in the area. While we do not have an official ratio, we are looking at adopting all different types of housing to come into Valley Center. Of course, making sure that it does adhere to our adopted building codes, that it adheres to the zoning code. What will happen is when the final plat for this project comes, we will also do a rezoning application for this property as well. And so this board will hear that rezoning case as well as City Council. So at that time, we'll have a much better idea about what that end product could look like going onto these lots. So with the final plat, what we'll do is at that meeting, we'll do the final plat first and then a rezoning for that final plat once it's adopted. So you'll have a chance to review that as well as City Council in determining what the final zoning of these lots actually are.
Certainly. I'm in the participant group of trying to find a house in Valley Center and the struggle that is.
Yes.
So I'm very familiar with that, and I appreciate all these projects that are bringing more options to town.
Absolutely, yes. And I would also just mention that on our city website, we do feature all of our new subdivisions. We're receiving new information right now for Soterra, for Prairie Lakes. And as those come online, we will also add that to the city website as well. So we are trying to, and we're also looking at other marketing, potential marketing to market our new subdivisions in Valley Center to help connect people that want to live here with available homes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Good question, thanks. Thank you, Jay. I don't think we've got anything else there. I do have a question, though, that any of you can probably answer. Everything's going north of Prairie Lakes, 85th and Seneca. What's the latest there?
So I'll do Prairie Lakes first. So as you know, the TIF district comprised is on the south side is Prairie Lakes. There will be the city park in the middle that'll hold that the detention for the water, which will replace the existing, what you see as the floodway now, that'll be replaced. And then you've got Trails End to the north of that. For Prairie Lakes, we are moving forward. So phase 3, we are finishing up the infrastructure on that and have just issued 7 building permits. So phase 3 is Gatewood. So if you're familiar, it is where the new northern pond of Prairie Lakes has been dug. It is directly to the west of that new pond. So Gatewood runs north. It's a north-south street, and the builder on there. Thank you, Brent. So that again. Yeah, there we go. So Gatewood is right there, and so 7 lots on that west side have 7 of those building permits have been issued. So that should start soon. The city staff review team is reviewing the infrastructure plans for phase 4 for Prairie Lakes, which will it'll be Appleton built from Seneca moving east and then Midway to the north. And so that area will be next. And then after phase 4, there'll be 2 more phases in Prairie Lake, so 5 and 6. So again, that developer, his name is Eric Gilbert. He's building those homes. A lot of great information. Yes, there's the website that are featuring those new homes that he'll be building. Again, on phase 3 right now on Gatewood is what we're looking at here on the screen. So those homes should be started here in the very near future. In terms of the area to the north of that, both Trails End and then what will become the city park, we are still working with the Corps on that review before we can continue to move forward with moving dirt. I would defer to either Jake or City Administrator Clark to answer more detailed questions, but we are still working with the Corps to resolve those issues so we can continue with the dirt work.
Gotcha.
And then, as you know, for Trails End, Brent, can you bring up the other map, the one that the rendering? Thank you. So again, Trails End is where you see the cursor right now, that area on the north side, just south of 5th. That's Trails End. Those will be single-family homes. And then you have to the south of that, the new city park, which will be constructed again to maintain detention of stormwater. And will be part of a city, like I said, a city park. And this is just a rendering, but that's what's sandwiched in between Prairie Lakes and Trails End will be the new city park. That area in pink is a reserve area currently owned by the city. And then the area to the north of that southwest corner of 5th and Seneca are a number of commercial lots. And again, when we did the final plat, we also did the rezoning for all of these as well. So all the zoning's been taken care of, and we are, again, once the Corps gives us approval, we can continue with the dirt work in the park area and then the area to the north as well. Get that removed from the floodplain and then start with the infrastructure.
Is there any expectation that there's any issues with Core? Just typical time frame?
Is that a loaded question or what?
No, don't worry about it. That's the world I live in. I get it. And I understand it takes a long time.
Brent, I can tell you, I'll defer to Brent on that one.
Those meetings are exhilarating, to say the least. And so I believe the Corps, and Jake, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe they finally figured out the process that they are to follow. And so there's a little learning curve the last 18 months. And so we're on the right path. It could be anywhere from 45 to 60 days, they hope. Once some more engineers take a look at it, review it, stamp it, sign it, and another office needs to sign it, and another office needs to sign it, and then just one more, and then we'll be done.
I get it. I just wanted to thank you.
That's right.
Okay, thank you. Now, I promise I'm not trying to keep everybody here, but if
You're fine.
briefly, what about improvements to timing for Seneca and then Meridian?
So Seneca we have been awarded funding to rebuild Seneca. That will take place 2025, Seneca? Yes. 2025? Yeah. So 2025 is when Seneca will be redone. And again, it'll not only be the road, but we'll also be extending that new sidewalk that was part of the Ford Street project to connect that to the north to that nice sidewalk that we have on the south side of Fifth Street. So not only is it going to be a street improvement, but sidewalks as well. That'll just enhance the walkability of the community. And so that's going to be a great improvement. But again, we are actually glad this has been delayed. Just the fact that it gives more time for that road to be beat up with all of the construction work that'll be taking place in both Prairie Lakes, Satara on the east side, and then hopefully trails into the north.
And actually it's been kind of nice. And so we actually were just awarded another $465,000 from WAMPO, from Wichita Area Metropolitan Planning Organization, for the trail portion of that project. And so we received the $1 million grant from the cost share, and now we're trying to add additional funding to try to keep the overall dollar amount, on the tax rolls from there for Seneca Street. And so Seneca Street will incorporate really, some nice landscaping in the median. It'll be 3-lane road with right turns and left turns off of it, along with a sidewalk. And so, this one is going to be a great addition to the community. And we'll keep trying to find grants. I know that the county is already going to participate in this project as well, since there is a part of it on the south side of this, closer to Ford Street, that is still in the county. And so we'll have some participation with them as well.
Cool.
But
My last question was, what's timing on Meridian?
Yes. And so the Meridian project, that is signed, sealed, delivered to KDOT. KDOT is under their review now. This is the section on Meridian from Main Street to 5th. And then on the southern part, from the train tracks all the way to the southern boundary, south of 69th Street. And so once that's done, they do hope to let the project, I believe in October of this year, and then potentially start construction sometime November, December of this year.
And that's going to build a roundabout at 69th?
Yes. Yep. They'll start probably between Main and 5th. The reason for that is so we don't miss a Fall Fest. We will not try to screw up any parade routes. And so that is actually listed in that agreement with KDOT and for the contractors. And so that part, we shouldn't miss a Fall Fest. That will be the top priority to get done. That does include a sidewalk all the way on both sides. It will be a 6-foot wide one on the east side, and then an 8-foot wide one on the west side, that entire stretch. We also are replacing a water main that is old, that's actually underneath the roadway. That's not the depth that it should be. And so doing some cleanup work on there as well. And some streetscaping and lights and decorative banners and all that fun stuff.
Nice. Did you say this section here will be closed to through traffic?
It will be one way to the north. And so you'll be able to go north, you just won't be able to go south. And there's enough room then to have that on both sides throughout the course of the project. So it won't be shut down fully, but enough of it will be at a time. Now, when we go down to 69th Street, yes, we will close that whole intersection because we don't want to drag it out for 2 years on a roundabout. And so we will absolutely close that entire intersection down for hopefully just a few months is the plan.
Thank you.
So rather rip off the Band-Aid on a roundabout on 69th rather than drag it out and get into a situation like some of our neighbors.
Thank you. And thank you. Sorry, I didn't mean to drag it out. Thanks for the update. It's good to hear.
Trying to find, did you guys see? Oh, so soon, I don't know if this is public yet, but I'll show it. So this is that area to the south of Fiddler's Creek. This is that 26 lot subdivision with 25 of them for sale in Satara now. And so it is something that soon you will be able to see all the lot layouts that you can see now, but actually there'll be a nice video, hopefully by the end of this week. I'll just click on, there's no sound or anything, but we'll show you, driving in that beautiful new subdivision, that nestles up along the hillside of Valley Center and has some spectacular views looking to the west. It really does. I mean, it has better views than I do from my house in Fiddler's Creek, and so I'm a little jealous. And so, you can drive up there now. The roads are all open. Evergy's almost done. That took a little while. And so these lots are for sale now. And there is a model home that's expected to begin here in the next month or so.
Yeah, there are some pretty cool views from up there. I wouldn't have expected that until I drove through there. That's pretty
And
impressive.
My daughter loves riding her bike down that road.
Yeah,
so.
but,
All right. Thank you.
thank you. Anything else, Brian?
No, just remember, just a reminder to the board that we will meet next month. We will have our regularly scheduled board meeting. So please save that date on your calendars. That is September 26th. So that'll be our next meeting. At this point, I do know that we will, as has been stated, we will have the preliminary plat for the property between the middle school and the high school. At least have that. The deadline for applications is next Monday, so there may be some other applications that come through, but we will at least have that under review, and we'll probably meet as the Stormwater Advisory Committee as well that night. But again, I will send that out in advance. If you do have any questions about that, again, thank you for being willing to serve as that committee. But if you do have any questions, please feel free to email me or call, and or reach out. You can reach out to Rodney Eggleston directly. Again, he's our Public Works Director, to ask any questions. But again, thank you for being willing to serve in that capacity as well for the community. And that's all I have for this evening.
Thank you. Any other items? Thought I move we adjourn. All those in favor? Good, we adjourn. Thank you.